So, yeah, values-based advisor is the umbrella of what I do. And really it's about being a purpose-driven entrepreneur. But I've not always been a purpose-driven entrepreneur. I'm going to share with you a kind of rocky journey that I've gone through to get through where I am to where I am. And the lessons I've learned along the way, the mistakes I've made along the way. And hopefully you can pick up a few things from that, a few lessons of how not to do it as well as how to do it. So I'm going to share a story as well. And it does contain kind of lots of different aspects. So values, as opposed to value, is a focus on purpose as not just profit. And that's really what it's about. The value, is a profit focus. We have profit-driven entrepreneurs, and we have purpose-driven entrepreneurs, which need to think about profit, but that's not the why. It's not the why that they're in business. So I'm going to really share that, and it's a bit of an interesting story. So this is the profit-driven entrepreneur. Okay, some of you can probably relate to that. It's really, what it is chasing money every day. Very short-term profit, short-term return, and just day after day, thinking how am I going to deliver next quarter's profit. This is the way a lot of operations work. You can lose focus for the longer term, and you can lose why am I in business. If you wake up one day and think, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it just about the money? So profit motives typically about accumulation, achievement, growth. It often is present in younger entrepreneurs. So you kind of get to a stage in your life where you have a bit of a shift and you move towards the purpose motive. But that's the profit motive there. And what I want to do is try and wake up entrepreneurs to the consequences of that before they get to that end place there. Because when you look back on the life of profit motive, you can have lifetime regret. So I kind of want to share that with you. I wanted, I was on this treadmill. I think in my bio we talked about I was climbing up the corporate ladder of success, only to get to the top and find it leaning against the wrong wall. And this is what it was. It was climbing up a profit motive ladder. And if I left it any longer, I might have got to this place here. So this here is the conveyor belt of life. And it's about conditioning of life and society. We're actually conditioned to think, to pursue profit motives, to be a profit-driven entrepreneur. From when we're born, our family unit, our ancestral unit, our schools teach us to become economically successful in later life. And if you have gifts that kind of don't fit that, you kind of get left behind a little bit in the process because you don't fit the model, which is to make you a profit-driven entrepreneur. And then you go to work and you get the same instructions, and it's all conditioning. And then you get family, and it's all about accumulation of big house, big pension, and then you get to retirement and you die. But there's a little person running off the conveyor belt there. That's the purpose-driven entrepreneur. So I'm going to tell you why the purpose-driven entrepreneur. They have in their lives motives which are completely different. So the motives are society, social relationships. They're environmental, making a difference to the planet. They're often creativity, artistic, or spirituality, or wanting to make a difference in the world. These are kind of the purpose-driven motives. They're called the visions of the purpose-driven entrepreneur. And it's about waking up to that and then getting off the conveyor belt. So, guess who that is? That's me when I was 17, when I was Trish's age. So, yeah.
Plus 10 years.
So, this is me as a 17-year-old, a blank canvas. And what I'm going to do is tell you the story from the blank canvas to where I'm stood now, and share with you the ups and downs from that space. So, in the playground when I was 17, I had a friend called Graham. Graham was very, he had a difficult family life. He was not very popular in school. He was a bit of a bully, a bit self-centred. The other kids didn't like him and didn't have any other friends, but I wanted to be his friend. I was everybody's friend. I was the one in the right-hand corner. What's that?
You're a deal maker.
Deal maker, yeah. So I just make friends with everybody. So I was friends with Graham. And one day I was in the playground when I was just about this age, and the other lads came up and said, Steve, we don't like your friend Graham. You've got to choose between being friends with Graham or being friends with us. So I don't like being put in that situation. So I said to them, look, I'm going to remain friends, even though he's a bit of an idiot and a pain. I'm going to remain friends with him. And if you choose not to be my friend, then that's your choice. So I made that decision. And the reason I say that, and this is important, is because sometimes when we don't like somebody, we've got to be compassionate. So for example, we don't like money-driven entrepreneurs. We've got to be friends, we've got to work with them, because the majority of people are money-driven. So it's really important, that's a really important lesson in my life. 25 years on, I went to a workshop in Gaunt's house in Dorset, which was a kind of alternative type building, which had lots of courses on. My course was life planning. So I was training as a registered life planner. I'm now a master life planner. But on this course, at the beginning of the course, it's a good exercise for you to do. You get a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, and you draw a picture of your life story. So you can explain it to other people in the room. This is my life story, my picture from that day. And I'd just like to explain it to you because it'll help you to understand the rest of the journey. So there's me, probably, I've got thinking about science, thinking about art, and when I was 17 years old, which you've just seen a picture of me when I was 17. My parents, my father was an accountant, my mother is very spiritual. My father is not spiritual at all, my mother was not financially savvy at all, completely different. They split up when I was 6, and I kind of was brought up by my mother. I had these gifts, the gifts of science and maths, and I had the gifts for art as well. And I had to make a choice between what was going to pursue my career. Was it going to be art or was it going to be science? Was it going to be a scientist or an artist? Because the financial situation, I thought, I need to make money, I need to grow, accumulate, so that was my chosen path at that time. So work, had some things, and then I ended up with loads of awards in later life, as you'll see here. I brought a couple along with me that I should take about. So that was my life plan, but there's a spaceship in the corner there. And it's like this, you feel like you've been beamed down on Earth and you have this purpose. What is it? Why are we here? For me, it was to help many. That was my purpose. I just felt that I always wanted to do that. Rather than working on one-to-one with people, I wanted to do something that helped lots of people. So, this is my path of money. So I said, what's a well-paid job? Financial services industry, so I thought I'd get into that. So this is me, it's a company which is now called Royal London. I was there 18 years, I qualified, I got sort of best performance in North West of England in my exams and everything, done 2 years running. And then I was then head of pensions after 18 years for what's now Royal London. And then I left there, and this is me again, a bit later on, Abbey National, which is now Santander. I was head of pensions then, head of investments, head of innovation for Santander. So what I was required to do is create new businesses. Every year in banking you had to create a new business. It didn't matter what you did last year, you had to create a new one this year, and that had to be very successful. So that's what I did, and I learned something. It was a book actually that Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's habit number 4 is called win-win. And this is really what made me succeed as a proposition architect in the financial services industry. Is to deliver an outcome that's not just a win for the business, but a win for the consumer. But in those terms, I thought it was financial. I thought it was about the money. I thought it was financially better off the consumer, financially better off the bank. I thought it was all about money. And I did many great things. So, as you'll see as we go through this, when I was there, I launched platforms and later on I launched some other solutions. And now 8 out of 10 people in the UK use my products that I launched. I've launched 6 market firsts, and I've run 6 market leaders. I've made 6 market leaders. And I did a spell at the Royal Bank of Scotland. Now, I worked for a guy called Fred the Shred, a good win. So now he is money driven. He's not very emotionally intelligent, spiritually intelligent. He liked my ideas, he liked the kind of success in that, but didn't like me. He said I was not alpha male enough for his organisation, so he let me go. And then I went straight to this building here in Canary Wharf, where I was head of investments at HSBC for 5 years. So here, again, many awards and things. I brought a couple to show you. This one, Personal Finance, ISA, Best ISA, 2010-2011. This product here, this it says MTN. It stands for Medium Term Note International. It's basically an award, an international award. This was an award for the best product in the world. So what's the best product in the world? It was voted the best.
And we've got him here in Leeds.
Yeah.
So this was, and the reason why it was voted the best product in the world is not an investment product. We used the proceeds, the profit, while we had the money before we paid out, to vaccinate children in 4 countries around the world. And we ended up saving 5 million lives. So that's why it was voted best product. But I was still very much thinking win-win was a financial. That was kind of the beginning of a turning for me, from being this money-driven entrepreneur, because I was within an organisation creating businesses, to something else. So this is how I turned. I thought, well, how can you follow that? 5 million lives saved, your children. What's the biggest problem facing financial services? This is a survey done by a company called Edelman, international PR agency, and they run a survey every year. And they say, what is the most trusted and least trusted industries? And you see the bottom line there, you can always see it, that's the banking industry. And it's the least trusted of all industries globally, okay? Year after year, it's been slightly improving since 2012, but it's still the least trusted of all industries. So, I worked in the least trusted industry. How important is that in financial services? Okay. Well, it goes on to tell you, it's a bit difficult to see from there, but there's a bar here that says 68 next to it. It says 2/3 of people choose products based on trust. So it's the most important of everything. So the most important determinant of buying the product was the thing that the industry was worst at. So if I can fix that, I thought that'd be great, that'd be fantastic. So I looked around and thought, well, where can I find a really good example of trusted advisor relationship? And I did find it. And that brings me back to Gaunt's house where I went on the training, which is about treating the customer as the client, not the money. It's what you do is you plan the customer's life purpose before you look at the financial architecture and put that in place to make that happen, to bring about that change in their life so they can do what is important for them. You weren't born to just pay bills and die. So, okay, so the first picture, that's not your purpose. So this is the turning point for me. So I found a program. I thought, well, I met the guy, George Kinder, the Kinder Institute of Life Planning. We're now very, very good, close friends. But he was the guy. It's an international organisation, trained in 24 countries. And basically, we're skilled financial planners who plan the client before we plan the customers. And I sort of took this idea to HSBC. Great, purpose. That's what was missing. HSBC, like all the other banks, I was actually at this time the chairman of the British Bankers Association Bancassurance Steering Group, which is so I represented all the banks and I've worked in 3 of them. I was the most senior investment pension professional in retail banking for about a decade. And I turned to them and said, it's not about money. So, yeah, But we were all, and the board, we were all money-driven entrepreneurs, didn't understand what I was talking about. And he said, we don't agree, Steve. What we want to do is we want to post a short-term profit to shareholders next quarter. The only way we can do that in this new world is lay off all the advisors. So every single bank laid off all their advisors, tens of thousands of financial advisors were laid off 2012, 2013. And now 95% of the population don't have access to a financial advisor. The only 5% that are left will only see people who have £250,000 worth of assets or more. So that rules out 95% of the population. So I knew there was no other large organisation, financial organisation, that would have me with this idea. And once you have this idea about purpose, there's no going back. It's like Pandora's box. You open it and, oh, it's all about purpose. You can't put that back in the box and forget about it. Just go back to your profit motive. It's not an option. It's just impossible. It's just a one-way piece. So I set up on my own 2012, which is values-based advisor. And it was initially a financial advice company. And I was talking about this is how to do it. It's about trust, building trusted relationships. But this is me a bit sad, Steve here, 18 months on. We've had a bit of conversation in the foyer that a lot of people have gone through a similar journey on this. 18 months later, the bank account was empty. Right. And as soon as the money ran out, so did the missus. So I was on my own, penniless, and thinking there's something wrong here. And what I now know is it's an experience that we all go through where we move from profit to purpose on this journey. It's called the dark night of the soul. I don't know if you've come across it. It's just happens automatically when you go through the shift. As Dr. Wayne Dyer calls it, the shift. You're going from your morning of your life to your afternoon and evening. You're going from a focus on accumulation and profit to the more important things in life. You kind of go through that. It can happen midlife, it can happen later life, and it can happen at the end of your life. It's going to happen at some point. And for me, it happened here. But this is how long ago? This is probably 3 years ago. So what I've achieved since, we're going to show you now, I've done in 3 years since that point. And this is how I did it. Consumption, take that as money, and well-being, take that as feeling good about yourself, feeling happy. Okay. This is a survey that's done that looks at, as we have more money, what happens to our well-being. Okay. So this far left there is people in poverty. Now, if you get people in poverty, more money improves their well-being. Give them twice as much money, it improves it twice as much. Really, really important. So it's important that we do that. If you take middle bit which people are comfortable, if they get more and more money, it doesn't make their well-being better. So if you're comfortable, if you've got sufficient income for the rest of your life, and I gave you twice as much money, you won't be twice as happy. And in fact, the affluent, it can be a negative effect. You give the affluent more money, it's more family arguments, it's more, can't trust my friends. It might be a downturn in health because you start overindulging in things, and so there's a negative. So the idea should not be to completely carry on growing your money and money. The idea should be to increase your well-being. And to do that, you get to this point and then you start to ask, what's the purpose of this? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, so that's what I started to do. This is me at a Live to Lead event in London. I started talking about how, using the skills I had in the banks, talking about business planning, putting in it purpose into the business plan. The triple bottom line. So you're talking about profit, which is absolutely important. You need to put the financial architecture in place for people to materialise their plans. But you need to think about people, planet, creativity, spirituality. Those are the things, whatever it is that people value, people's values, as we call the plan. So I talked about that. This is Workplace Pensions Direct. So I needed to demonstrate that, that this works with business. So I set up this business. This brochure was designed by DS Emotion, which is about 2 floors below us, coincidentally. This 2 years, it's my 2 years anniversary today, this company. Values-based organisation's got 4 values: excellence, fairness, service and simplicity. Those are the 4 values. Some say service isn't a value, I say it's the highest of all values. It's the most important one. And as a result of that, I was, after 18 months, a finalist for Yorkshire Business Masters Awards for 2017. So, and that's the award, it's a pre-award ceremony. We now have relationships with over 1,000 accountants across the UK. We look after their clients on auto-enrolment, and they have hundreds of clients. We have access to tens of thousands of businesses across the UK and hundreds of thousands of employees of workers across the UK, and I've done that in a very short space of time by being focused on values. Okay, so you can be fast growing, and there are reasons for that, and we'll share that with you. This has been in Grenada, in the Caribbean. So I went across there to talk to entrepreneurs about how to be a values-based investment. So you're much more investable if you've got a triple bottom line on your business plan. If you are looking at, so it's easy to get a grant if you're talking about, this is not just what I'm going to do on a profit basis, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create these jobs, I'm going to do this in the community, and it's going to be X, Y, and Z. And you know, so one of the businesses I don't feature on here, I'm actually on the board of a charity called the Blair Project. Prince Harry, I've met Prince Harry, he supports the project. We help not in education and employment teams, but we're building £1 million projects and things. So, you know, it's about, you can raise money if you have that. It's kind of really easy to raise capital, and if you need any help with that, just give me a shout and I can help. This is the Transparency Task Force. And what you notice in all the previous pictures, I was just me. This is I'm part of a team. And it becomes the focus as you move from profit to purpose. It becomes not about I and me, it becomes about us and we. And you start acting as a team and having team players. So I'm in the middle there. And Transparency Task Force is to make the financial services industry globally more transparent. We've got a huge number of volunteers, great number of teams, and I lead something called the Market Integrity Team. What we do in the Market Integrity Team is we're trying to get integrity back into the financial industry. And we're doing that by leading a Codes of Ethics project. So I'm creating a standard for Codes of Ethics. I've got 70 organisations across the UK involved. So ICAEW, ACCA, CII, all the organisations. And we're basically creating a standard for their codes of conduct. We're going to raise levels of professionalism in the financial industry. So I'm going to make a difference to many. And this is kind of my peak. I'm now an ambassador for the Transparency Task Force. So I feel that, you know, even in a short space of time, by focus on values, that you can achieve success. Now this here is something similar. This is spiral dynamics, which is another kind of angle to personal development. But if you know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you come across that, the lower areas are kind of hygiene factors of the kind of survival elements, and the higher are the more self-actualization sort of elements. And you can kind of be operating in some of these levels, and similar to the levels I think of yours. So, but the reason I want to show you that is a lot of people work in this egocentric, exploitative, particularly in financial services. And what happens is they break down in trust and confidence if a population is higher up and the servicing industries are lower down. Now this is that same map if you take this as the self-actualisation, that's the survival piece. The money industry is operating in this space here, but you can see the European population is shifted quite over, and it's raising levels of consciousness in Europe, closely followed by America, less so in some of the other areas. So it's really important, if you're a purpose-driven organisation, not only can you raise capital, you're hitting the right market, the right audience. This is the study, sorry it's hard to see, but the brands there, this is basically a study that looked at brand values. Compassion, love, caring, soulful joy, authenticity. And surveyed the general public and asked them, what brands do you associate with those values? And they came up with Toyota, Costa, BMW, etc., etc. But then what they did is looked at the stock returns of, for a period from 1996 to 2011 of those brands, and compared it to the market in general. The market in general, you see that these brands collectively outperformed the market in general by 10 times. So a focus on purpose will deliver greater long-term returns. It might not give you the next quarterly profit like the banks do, but that's the idea. So I just want to show you this. I came across this lately, which was Steve Jobs. And you think, gee, Steve Jobs is probably the most famous money-driven entrepreneur. He's one of the most famous ones. But this is a quote from his deathbed. I'll tell you the full quote. He says, "Now I know," this was on his deathbed, he was listening to the machines whirl, the lights and flashing, and this is what he said. "Now I know. When we have accumulated sufficient wealth to last our lifetime, we should pursue other matters that are unrelated to wealth. Should be something that is more important. Perhaps relationships. Perhaps art. Perhaps a dream from younger days." He said, "Non-stop pursuing of wealth will only turn a person into a twisted being just like me. God gave us the senses to let us feel the love in everyone's heart, not the illusions brought about by wealth." So Steve Jobs had his moment of awakening at that point. So what I say to you, have your awakening now, there's plenty of years ahead, and be a purpose-driven entrepreneur. This is taken from a book by a lady called Bronwyn Ware. She's a palliative care nurse in Australia, and she wrote a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And it's from an experience of working with people in palliative care. And she was asking them about their story. And the number one regret, I lived as others expected me to live. And it's again this conditioned living. So break free, escape off the escalator, off the treadmill. The other ones that don't work so hard, say what you feel, stay in touch with friends, really important one, and be happy. So, my message to you in a simple way is, your talent is God's or the universe's gift to you. You have a talent, everyone has a talent. What you do with it is you give back to the universe. That's really important. And if you don't do it, you don't feel fulfilled, and it's going to bite you at some point, and it might be on your deathbed when you're looking back on regrets. So to finish, I'd just like to sum up on 7 points, 7 key takeaways from this. First of all, you have a gift. Every one of you has a gift, use it. It's going to be a pain, your life's going to go wrong until you use it. Things are going to happen that just keep reminding you, get back and start using your gift. There's no going back, it's like Pandora's box. When you realise this, you've opened it, you can't suddenly go back to being money driven. It's got to be about your purpose. It's about servant leadership. The conference I did and showed you a slide of earlier was about John Maxwell. He talks a lot about this, as Simon Sinek does as well. It's about, as a leader, you are a servant to your employees, not their master. You're a servant to your customers, not their master. So it's really important that you kind of think about that. So for example, don't take credit for the work, give credit to the people. Take responsibility for things when they go wrong, don't give the responsibility to others. Be the change that you want to be in the world. Okay, you've all got something that you could do, a gift that you can use, you can be the change. The bigger the challenge, the bigger the opportunity. You know, I wanted to change the face of financial services, and even from where I was 3 years ago to where I am now doing it. I'm writing a code that's going to be a British standard, it's going to be a European standard, it's going to be an ISO in 3 to 5 years. I'm doing that now, and I've got 75% of the market helping me, participating in that project. Embrace compassion comes back to that Graham, remind you of Graham again. What happened was, when I was in that dark place, what I'd done is, the mistake I'd made is, I was angry about the banks and the money-driven colleagues, and that I was going to realise it was all about purpose. I was annoyed with them, and I was kept away from them, and that's why I got to that place. And it's only when I took what I've learned all these years, back into that environment and with my new path of purpose. You know, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? Who else is going to do it? So I told myself, get back in there, be the change that you want to see in the world, and that's what I did. And that takes compassion and understanding where people are, and it takes big heart to kind of do that and embrace people and help them. And the last one is let go and trust. This is the biggest one of them all. You can't think through this, and you can't think this is how it's going to, putting together an event, you can't think it through, just kind of do this, do that, things will happen. It's not logical. You've got to let go, trust, know that synchronicity, what will happen is, the kind of way the law of attraction works for me, is that if I wished £1 million in my bank account and thought about it and concentrated, it's not going to happen. Because it's not my path. It's not my path of purpose. It's not what I meant to put on this earth to do. If I think I want to kind of meet some politicians and have an introduction to the Prime Minister in order to get my project, the Transparency Task Force, moving forward, guess what happens? It happens. Nothing's too big to ask. Let go and trust, it will happen. So, there you go, that's values-based advice, a little journey for you. And just leave you on kind of one thought, and it's from my famous singer Jimi Hendrix, and he said, it's when the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will know peace.